everyone, this is your Daily Dose of TikTok. Today we're seeing red flags in people we date, part 3.
What is a red flag that you should not have ignored about someone you were dating?
Oh, so you really got time. Okay. My ex was a master manipulator. He always found a way to turn situations, conversations around back on me. If I would get a little bit bothered by something that he did, he'll turn it around and be like, well, no, the reason why I'm doing that is because of you. And you know what I did? I believed it. Pendeja. I believed it. I was like, oh, actually, maybe if I change, it'll prevent him from doing that. No. Girls, if you're watching this, stand your motherfucking ground. Stand your ground and don't take shit from nobody. And pay attention to when people are gaslighting you. I learned my lesson.
And those were amazing words of wisdom, guys. No relationship could be maintained without respect.
Another one. I didn't end up dating this boy, but I did talk to him. So the first time we ever met, he was really aggressive and like trying to play fight with me, which is like, okay. Yeah. And he went like this to my head, but like hard as a bitch. And I kept talking to him after that. He was just really aggressive though, so it just was not going anywhere. The last I ever seen or heard of him was a picture of his mugshot that my friend sent me for a battery charge. So
that is also another sign people tend to ignore. If somebody's being very aggressive with you on purpose, even as a joke, then that could be a sign of a violent and abusive character.
When he told me he was emotionally unavailable and incapable of having a boyfriend the first weekend. We dated for 4 years on and off. I convinced him to go on our first date by calling it a not date date. Gay men have just as much baggage as straight men, and it's often the same baggage. That's why I've got your back, besties. I've been where you've been, and I don't want you to have to go through what I've been through. Much love, y'all.
No, because I win. 18 years old, drive hours to go see this guy in Washington State. I show up, he's got a grill, he's living with his homeboy. We end up going out drinking that night, and later on we came back to his place. Mind you, he was sleeping on a fucking air mattress in the living room. But no, that wasn't good enough for me. We both go back to the house, his friend is there, we're really fucked up. He starts arguing with me because he got jealous because some guy was talking to me at the party. I just met this guy. So I said, well, I'm just gonna leave and I'm gonna go back to Cali. Bitch. This 23-year-old man with his grill pulled out a full-blown butcher knife and started waving it around at my head. Stabbed a mattress and sliced it all the way from the tippy top to the bottomy bottom. Don't you know I still stuck around? I was willing to lose my life for this fucking story. Later on down the road, this guy ended up beating me and kidnapping me. 2 years after we broke up, he ended up going to prison for purposely giving third-degree burns to his child.
And great moral and valor here to this story. When someone shows the first signs of major and deliberate aggression, that should be the only sign you need to leave them and go find something better.
She was taking Prozac, or prescribed Prozac, but wasn't taking it, which wasn't good. I came over for a little Netflix and chill, and I said, I'm thirsty. So she brought me some water. Thing about that is, she brought it to me in this. Had a little twang to it. I mean, she had a dump truck. So when I get over to her house, she got a mattress, box spring, on the floor. A week later, I see her posting pictures of her in Atlanta standing on couches in red bottoms. Priorities. I still smash. She can see nothing wrong with putting her hands on men. She took a whole bath in the kitchen sink. Now, all of these are different women. Each one, different woman. Damn shame.
Big lesson to learn, and that is that intercourse and sex appeal should never be the reason you stay in a relationship.
Okay, so full disclosure, I am a dating coach and I am an expert because I had to undo all the mistakes and learn how to do better. This story absolutely highlights my lack of self-esteem that kept me in shitty relationships. I met a guy rock climbing and then started dating him. And shortly after we started dating, we went on a rock climbing trip and there was another girl there that he flirted with. By the end of that trip, it was obvious they were into each other. When we dropped her off after that trip, he turned to me and said if I'd met her first, I would be with her. And I stayed. Needless to say, he cheated on me with her.
Woo! Do I have the goddamn answer?
do I? The biggest red flag that came that I should have said, all right, exit stage left, was I ended up pregnant and we were going to tell his parents that I was pregnant. First of all, that's a red fucking flag. I don't know why we were in such a fucking hurry. Whatever. We go to tell his parents we're pregnant, and I'm sitting at the table and his mother gets up deep. I'm talking about, when I say the cry and the sound from her crying when she walked off, you would have assumed we told her somebody died. Like, it was such a deep, saddened cry. Red flag number 1. Red flag number 2, his father said that I should consider my options and that his family was going to feel like I trapped him. It takes 2 to make a baby. One of us holds the power to make that baby in the beginning. All I do is fucking grow it. But you know, I'm a medical professional. What the hell do I know? So, red flag number 2. Third red flag. He literally kept insinuating for me to get an abortion until the time I couldn't get an abortion anymore. Now they all act like my daughter's the best thing since sliced bread. I can laugh about it now because it's funny, but it's just like, that's the only time that man ever made sense. That's the only time his father ever made sense, and that I wish I would have listened to him. You know better, you do better. Y'all be safe out here.
There's a popular saying that goes, pregnancy is 9 months so that everybody could get used to the fact that a child is coming. And while it's not literally true, it is a convenient thing to make people understand that they each have a responsibility.
There's a guy I'd been seeing for about a month. We'd only had one official date, but we'd sort of had the odd lunchtime together because we worked in the same building. Sounds convenient, but is actually a narcissist playground. Anyway, a month in, I go away about 100 miles to go and dog sit for my sister for a week. While I'm away, he calls me and he tells me that he loves me. And I say that it's a bit too soon for me to know that, but you know, we'll see how it goes and develops. He has a raging argument with me and asks me if I've thought about how that makes him feel. No! Anyway, he yells at me for not loving him back immediately. We spend 8 years together, married for 1, and every day was a narcissistic hellscape mental prison I was glad to escape from. And now I see women. Everybody loves a happy ending.
I only get one? No, but the guy I was dating or whatever, one night we had got into a disagreement. Before I was healed, I was batshit crazy. If you was the type to like ignore me and what I had to say, I was the type to pull up. And so that's what I did. I pulled up and I let him know I was outside. I'm walking to the door like I always do, and he meet me at the door. Like, come on, let's go talk. I'm being stupid thinking, okay, you come see your senses. So we pulled off from his spot and we was talking and driving. I'm driving, mind you. So his phone just blowing up. He ignoring it because we talking and I'm thinking, you know, he being considerate. Fuck no. So he starts apologizing like real quick and swift changing his mood. So after he apologizes and stuff, he's like, is we good? You know, can you take me back home? Reluctantly, I take his ass back home. So no sooner than I dropped him off and pull off, my gut was like, girl, turn back around. I turned around. That nigga was gone when I got there. 5 minutes.
Crazy, he probably made a run for it. Those type of people usually have a lot of things to hide. Let's see what the next person has to say.
Sadly, I have a lot of these, but for this one, trigger warning, sexual coercion. I was 17 and a senior in high school, and I had met a young man who was 18, and we started hanging out a little bit. We'd hooked up a couple times, but I was not interested in sleeping with him. And he knew that. And one time we were all at a party, a bunch of friends, and he said in front of everybody, I bet you're one of those girls who just lays there during sex like a bump on a log. And I was embarrassed and surprised. And I had had sex before. I had had a boyfriend for a couple of years before him. And I said, no, I'm not. I didn't want to seem like this prudish little girl. And I did end up sleeping with him, even though I didn't really want to, but it was to prove that I was not that way. I ended up marrying him 10 years later. We are no longer married, but that always bothered me. And I didn't know why until years later I learned what coerced consent is. He knew exactly what he was doing, and it was a huge red flag.
Coercion is not acceptable, and these types of things should never be done. But we should always remain vigilant and aware of these types of people so that we protect ourselves before they have a chance to hurt us.
This is a good one. But he was on his phone all the time, constantly. First, I accepted it because I was like, oh, he's just a hard worker and he's really ambitious and staying on top of things. Then I later discovered there's a difference between working hard and being a workaholic. So what had happened was I invited him to my best friend's engagement party. And I had told him before inviting him, I was like, it's fine if you have to work. I totally get it. It's okay. Like, I'd really love for you to come because I would love for you to meet her for the first time. He said he could come, and then he spent the entire night on his phone doing work. Spoke to my best friend maybe 10 minutes, barely interacted with my other friends that were there. And I had said, yo, this is like really important to me. And he basically was like, well, I don't really care what people think of me. And I was like, okay, so I guess if it's important to you, then it's fine. But if it's important to me, it doesn't really matter to you. He'd also mentioned early on in our relationship that if this certain person in his life didn't like me, that would be a red flag. And I was like, well, that's ironic because you don't care what my best friend thinks, and that's a red flag.
Being with a partner who's very hardworking and ambitious might not be a thing for everybody. Some people just won't be able to put up with the amount of hours spent away from the home and in the office. And before entering the relationship, this needs to be discussed so that both parties can know it and what they're signing up for.
I'm embarrassed I let this one go as long as it did. I dated a guy who was really obsessed with the concept of holding doors open for me. Which doesn't have to be a red flag, but I'm an efficient girl. If I get to a door first, I just want to open it and go through it. And in the beginning, he was really insistent that he wanted to hold doors open for me. And I explained to him, hey, if I get to a door first, I'm just going to open it. That's my preference. As time went on, he got really insistent about it, to the point that if I got to a door first and opened it, he would shove me away from it and slam the door and open it for me. Or if I got out of the car before he could walk around and open the door, he would shove me back in the car. I even hit my head on the door frame once, and he blamed me for it. This kind of behavior continued to escalate until he wouldn't let me drive my own car. He would steal the keys from me and throw a huge fit about it. He was super controlling and obsessed with gender roles, and I should have noticed the red flag when he was really insistent about the door thing.
Well, this will be fun. I was once engaged to a guy that didn't want to share his music with me. This sounds really weird. He would have these playlists or these songs that I loved, and he would play them while we were in the car, but he wouldn't tell me the artist or the name of the song because he didn't want me to defile the song with my knowledge about it. And I felt like it was really weird, but being a middle child, sometimes I know that you get possessive over certain things and you can't help it because it's just how you are. And so I didn't think much of it, but looking back on it, that's insane. That's insane. You should want to share everything with your person. What?
People are definitely allowed to have personal belongings in a relationship, but sometimes when you're with somebody, what's yours is theirs too.
He backed into parking spaces.
This was like 15 years ago. We're just hanging out, watching TV. And one of these Apple, like Macintosh versus PC commercials pop up. And I just made some comment about how the commercials are so clever, they almost make me want to buy a Macintosh. And the level of rage he displayed, there was yelling involved over an innocuous observation I made about the effectiveness of Apple's advertising ads and advertising campaigns. I mean, yelling. He was so angry. I stayed with him for like a year after that. Joke's on him. My marketing job pays for this iPhone that I'm recording on. So
your partner should build and grow you as a person, not tear you down if you have a genuine idea. No matter what anybody says, pursue your dreams.
My initial video was muted, but I think this is very important. If you're dealing with someone who constantly says, "Oh, I thought I told you that," my advice is that you run. This is a game of deception that people tend to play when they're trying to present a better version of themselves than they actually are, to trick you into falling for them. Your intelligence is being insulted. Their web of lies is unraveling, and they can't keep it together. More important, their omission game is on 1,000, meaning they know exactly what to say to you to keep that warm, fuzzy feeling going, but they also know what to omit so as not to present any red flags. I was taught that you have 2 ears and 1 mouth because it is meant for you to listen twice as much as you speak. The truth will come out if you listen. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. I'm nursing a broken heart because of it. Be well.
If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. And subscribe. We publish new videos every day.